You have a home, a reliable source of food and fresh water. You are surviving. But survival is exhausting. Every task, from cutting meat to chopping wood for a fire, is a monumental struggle with your bare hands or crude, sharpened rocks. A simple cut from a jagged rock can get infected and kill you. To truly advance, you don't just need to be stronger, you need to be smarter. This is the story of how our ancestors, with nothing but the materials around them, launched the first great technological revolution. It all begins with a simple yet brilliant discovery. Not all rocks are created equal. You learn to seek out specific types: flint, chert, and the black, volcanic glass called obsidian. These stones are special. When struck correctly, they fracture with a predictable, conchoidal pattern, creating an edge sharper than a modern steel scalpel. The technique of flintknapping becomes the most important skill of the Stone Age. There were two main methods. The first is percussion knapping, striking a coarse stone with a hammer stone to flake off large, useful pieces. This is for making the rough shapes of hand axes and choppers. But for finer work, you develop pressure flaking. Using a piece of antler or bone, you apply precise pressure to the edge of a flake, pressing off tiny, controlled slivers to create razor-sharp arrowheads, delicate sewing needles from bone, and sharp barons for carving. From this single material, you create an entire toolkit. A sharp flint point by itself is useful, but the real genius was in combining technologies. You realize a flint point attached to a stick becomes a spear, a tool that gives you a life-saving distance from your prey. But how do you attach it? First, you invent cordage, the world's first rope. You learn to harvest plant fibers, like nettles, or process animal sinew, twisting them together to create incredibly strong string. But you need more. You need glue. Through countless experiments, you discover that by heating the bark of a birch tree in a low-oxygen environment, it produces a sticky, black, waterproof tar. This birch bark tar is humanity's first complex adhesive. By combining the flint point, the wooden shaft, the cordage binding, and the birch tar adhesive, you create a composite tool, a masterpiece of Neolithic engineering. This new way of thinking leads to the Atlatl, or spear thrower. This simple device, a stick with a hook at the end, acts as a lever, an extension of the human arm. It dramatically increases the speed and power of a thrown spear, allowing it to hit with enough force to pierce the thick hide of the largest prey. It was a weapon so effective it dominated hunting for thousands of years. This technological boom wasn't just for hunting. It transformed daily life. You needed better ways to gather and store the food you were now farming. Using your new cordage skills, you begin weaving. You create strong, lightweight baskets from reeds, allowing you to gather more berries and nuts than you could ever carry in your hands. You weave long nets, which you use in rivers and lakes to catch fish in massive quantities. You even build the first simple looms, allowing you to weave coarse cloth from flax and wool, a massive improvement over stiff animal hides for clothing. You needed to carry water and store grain, so you moved beyond simple clay pots. You invented the potter's wheel, not for transportation, but as a rotating platform that allowed you to craft lighter, stronger, and more symmetrical pottery faster than ever before. You also mastered firing. You learned to build early kilns, pits in the ground that could control airflow and reach higher, more consistent temperatures, turning soft clay into hard, waterproof ceramic, perfect for long-term storage and cooking. Your community is growing. You need to build larger structures, clear more land, and move heavier objects than a single person can lift. You domesticate dogs not just for hunting, but for transport. You build the first travois, to long poles hitched to a dog, allowing you to drag heavy loads of firewood or meat back to the village. The greatest challenge is moving massive stones for building ritual sites or communal tombs. You learn to use teamwork, levers, and perhaps the most important invention for heavy lifting, wooden rollers. By felling trees and placing them under a massive stone, a large team of people could roll a multi-ton monolith across the landscape. This was the birth of large-scale construction and monumental engineering. These weren't just tools, they were the engines of civilization. From the razor-sharp edge of a flint flake grew the concepts of physics, engineering, and chemistry. With these inventions, you are no longer just surviving the world, you are beginning to shape it, moving from a single rock in your hand to moving mountains as a community.